Okay, I'm going to call to order this regular City Commission meeting of Monday, January 5th, 2026. All please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We begin, as always, by acknowledging the land on which we gather as the territory of the Ottawa and Chippewa peoples who have stewarded this land through the generations. Thank you for your strength and resilience in protecting this land and inspiring us up to uphold our responsibilities to do the same. We welcome you all back here after a couple of weeks hiatus for the holidays and much needed breaks for our staff and selves as we regroup to come into this new year. So with that, I will go ahead and hand it over to officially start with Sarah for the roll call, please.
Commissioner Bomer?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ness?
Here.
Commissioner Anderson?
Here.
Commissioner Funk?
Here.
Commissioner Shaw?
Here.
Commissioner Treadwell?
Here.
Mayor?
Here. All right, and with that, we will continue and do announcements from the official city manager. No more interim in front of it.
Yeah, thank you. Happy New Year, everyone. I have some announcements to make for this week, the week of January 5th, 2026. The Hickory Hills ski area partially opened this weekend. Snowmaking continues with priority being on the front of the hill. Crews are then going to work on the backside, and runs that are currently open are Fast Tammy and Waterfall. Please stay tuned to the Hickory Hills TC Facebook page for additional updates. Also, the city's Christmas tree drop-off is now open at Hall Park, and that'll run through January 30th. So please be sure to check your tree to make sure that it's free of any decorations as we chip the trees, and we don't want your ornaments in there with the chippings, or you know what I mean. So anyway, and then just a reminder that residents and business owners need to keep their sidewalks clear of snow and ice for everyone's safety. That's all I've got.
Okay, and moving on to announcements for the, for now, interim city clerk, Sarah Lutz.
Sure. Meeting schedules this week are the Planning Commission will meet tomorrow, Tuesday, January 6th at 6 p.m. here in the Commission chambers. There's a Parks and Rec ad hoc interview meeting scheduled for Wednesday, January 7th at noon in the training room. The Rec Authority will meet Wednesday, January 7th at 7 p.m. in the Commission chambers. The Coast Guard City Committee will meet this Thursday, January 8th at noon at the Air Station. And the City Commission will be holding a study session retreat on Saturday, January 10th at 9 a.m. at the Senior Center, and this will not be televised or recorded. And then, of course, we're always looking for individuals to apply for our boards and commissions. Especially, we just created Complete Streets, so get those apps into our office. And I would just like to remind commissioner, staff, and members of the public to speak directly into the microphone so those watching at home and the recording of this meeting can be easily heard. So thank you.
Thank you, and I'll have you continue on with the consent calendar then, please.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for individual consideration by the commission, and such requests will be automatically respected. If an item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action note in parentheses on the agenda is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. 1, consideration of approving the minutes of the December 15th, 2025 meeting of the City Commission. Approval recommended. 2, consideration of adopting a resolution authorizing the transfer of ownership of a resort Class C license with Sunday AM/PM sales, dance entertainment, and outdoor service permits currently held by R.L. Bailey, Inc., doing business as Mackinac Brew Company of Traverse City, to the Red Piano TC LLC, and consideration of authorizing the city clerk to issue the related registration allowing the operation of the licenses and permits at 161 East Front Street, Traverse City, Michigan 49684. Adoption and approval recommended. 3, consideration of authorizing an agreement for the demolition and abatement of West State Street properties. Approval recommended. 4, consideration of waiving the competitive bidding process and authorizing an amendment to the agreement for the professional services for GIS and mapping work at the Oakwood Cemetery. Approval recommended. 5, consideration of authorizing an amendment to the agreement with TC Ale Trail for its use of city property for its kayak, bike, and brew operations and Paddle for Pints operations, which extends the agreement for the calendar year 2026. Approval recommended. 6, consideration of authorizing an agreement for critical building masonry and restoration repairs at the Front Street Lift Station. Approval recommended. 7, consideration of authorizing an amendment to the construction agreement for the West Side Sewer Rehabilitation Project, which expands the project scope within the previously approved dollar amount. Approval recommended. 8, consideration of authorizing an easement request and subsequent maintenance for required fire egress sidewalk at 211 West Grandview Parkway to Marriott Tribute. Approval recommended. 9, consideration of approving a budget amendment for the Downtown Development Authority related to information technology work that was necessary in connection with the city resuming parking services operations and the related decoupling of IT systems. It should have said approval recommended.
All right, does any commissioner need any item pulled from the consent calendar? Jackie?
Number 5 and number 8, please.
Okay, Heather?
On number 3.
Okay. Anyone else? Would any member of the public like any item pulled that is not 5, 8, or 3? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back for a motion.
I move that we accept the consent calendar as amended.
Thank you, Mitch.
Second.
Thank you, Heather. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So we'll start with item 5, which is the Ale Trail, and you wanted this one pulled, Jackie?
Yes, this is a quick one. I noticed that we are gathering actual patron numbers from prior years, you know, while the fee for this use of public land is dropping by about 50%. I would be interested in knowing whether the number of patrons using the parkland is also dropping by about 50%. And I guess that information and the trend in prior years is still being gathered. And I wondered if there was any support for simply tabling this until the numbers are available.
Okay, go ahead, Mitch.
Well, I would say we can't know the future until it has already passed. So we can look at trends, but in terms of making assumptions about what the numbers will be, we have to operate on what we have.
May I clarify?
Yes.
I believe the vendor has supplied projections that they believe are fairly accurate, and what we're waiting for is patron numbers from previous years so that we can understand if the decline in licensing fee is proportionate with the decline in usage.
So according to the memo and the previous information, the body itself took action last year to have a cut
Right.
to the number of allowed runs, and this is going to continue in that lower number. Is that correct? Did you want to address anything else?
I can say that the projected number by the applicant of patrons would be essentially the same as last year. You are right that the recommended fee is cut in half. I'll share that the Parks and Recreation Commission, as you may know, reviewed this, and they recommended this renewal for 1 year as a bridge, if you will, until they wrap up their Parks and Rec master plan. As far as the fee goes, that was one of the reasons why we were referring it to the Parks and Recreation Commission initially, was for them to develop a proposal on how we should establish the fees, because and I was the one who established the fee, and I will say that it was arbitrary in a lot of ways originally. And so we had significantly increased it, but last year I met with Mr. Daly and, for what it's worth, reviewed his financial statements, and in my opinion, if it's the will of the commission to continue to have this service, I think that the reduction in fee compared to what his revenues are is fairly reasonable.
Well, I was just going to say, add one other piece, is to remind everyone as we're having this conversation that this is 1 year, and as was just noted, while the Parks and Rec is going through their own master plan, this use might not even be something they want to pursue in the future. And so this is really kind of to allow the business to operate for the next year while that is being finalized, which was part of the conversation last year as well, and the reasoning behind cutting some of the usage. So what were you going to say? Or actually, Lance, did you have your hand up? Okay, go ahead, Jackie, then.
Just that I'm being sensitive to the fact that the maximum caps for prior years have been rather dramatically higher than the actual usages, and so I'm just trying to get some sense of reality here, if you would, and you know, if one more week wouldn't harm the vendor and would make it possible for us to have enough information to make a solid decision, then I would be in favor of that.
Are we picking the week because you've talked to the vendor, or you're assuming it would be
No,
available in a week?
I'm presuming that Ms. Hunt will be able to gather that information in a week. Maybe that's not realistic.
I guess that would leave the question now to the rest of the commission. Do others want to wait for a week or more to make this decision, or would we like to make the motion now and move this forward for this year, knowing that there'll be a major assessment coming forward? Go ahead, Heather.
What's the timeline on the master plan for Parks and Rec?
Oh,
Because they'll want this information.
yeah. Michelle, could you speak to that? Thank you. I'm not sure if I remember right, so
You
if
saw
you
me
would.
in the corner. Hi, Michelle Hunt. So the question about the master plan, we have identified our draft pillars, and we're going to review them with the Parks Commission has reviewed them, and then our next step is to review action items at our February meeting, and then I hope to have a draft for public input sometime in April for finish in May. So along the conversation, if I can bring it back to Jackie's question, because it is a good question, and I talked to Mr. Daly. I sent him an email this morning. He got me the numbers for 2025. Did you see those?
I don't believe I did.
No. I'm happy to share them. So when Mayor Tet talked about the fact that it was a reduction from 2020 to 2024, 2025 was like an anomaly year where it was a reduction in the fee, but also the understanding that his patron numbers would be cut dramatically as well, and he did abide by that. So in 2025, the total guests were 2,059, and they were split between his two programs, Kayak, Bike, and Brew, and Paddle for Pints, and he broke those down, where Kayak, Bike, and Brew was 1,293 patrons, and Paddle for Pints was 766. So that is quite the reduction. He did abide by what we asked him to do for that reduced fee. The conversation around the amount of patrons, we haven't been talking so much at the Parks and Rec Commission level. It's been more focused on what Mr. Marentet alluded to. Like, it was an arbitrary number that was decided in the beginning. Not that the logic isn't sound, but we wanted, as a Parks and Rec Commission, to discuss the kind of uses that make sense in our parks, so that if someone comes to the Parks Commission and says, I want to have X business in a park, it's outlined in the master plan as an approved use, and then here's the fee that we feel is appropriate to be using city property for your business enterprise. And that process is really being formalized through the master plan. And I think the amount of patrons is an important component. We have high impact events that have thousands of people, and then we have some that have not a lot of people. So the amount of actual person usage in a park is a really important consideration. So I'm glad you brought that up, because we'll talk about that more as we move forward. And I would say that he has complied with what we've asked him to do. I have meetings with him frequently. I don't have a concern from an operations perspective for this 1 year while we try to figure out what makes sense for the future, and the Parks Commission shares that also.
So these recommendations would definitely be in place by the time any contract came before this body for next year.
Absolutely. And I would say before we make any recommendations for any new park usage or existing, and that's where the question was, are there other extensions? Right now, every contract that we have will either sunset after the master plan, or we just don't have them. So it's a good time. This is our last one that we have, and just out of respect for them being a good business partner, we felt like one more year was reasonable.
Thank you. Do we have other questions?
And I got to jump back to it real quick, but this reduced rate of 14,625 proposed is half of what it was in 2025, because we requested that they have a smaller impact in the amount of people and tours that they do, right? So that's why it's less.
Yeah. So do we have any further questions, or would somebody like to make a motion? Go ahead, Jackie.
So to follow up on Commissioner Funk's question, you said that the 2025 usage was about 2,000 patrons,
Yes.
and that the estimated for 2026 is 3,500. So the fee is going down by half, but the number of patrons is going up by a significant amount.
And I will, in the conversations I've had with Mr. Daly, those are, his numbers are just down from previous years. And part of that is his ability to get the word out there ahead of time. And typically in years past, he was able to open his registration in the fall, and that significantly helps his program fill up more for the summer. So by taking more time, it does potentially reduce that just because of, marketing and getting the word out there. So he had, in the past, has had more time to just announce it. And so that might be a consideration, but we won't know what the numbers are going to be for this summer. I feel comfortable that if it was 3,500, that wear and tear on the park, the use, it's not going to be anything significant that will cause harm that we can't manage.
So I just want to clarify, because that wasn't my understanding, that the number of users was going up. My understanding was it was staying the same. You just said that it is going up compared to last year?
Let me look at
Wasn't that the projection for last year was 3,500? It was higher than that number that Michelle just gave us, wasn't it? No,
The projection for 2026 is
3,500.
3,500.
I'm saying the
3,500.
25 year when we said we were cutting, the projection was higher than the 2,100 we got, though.
Yes. It's still
Yes.
lower than it has been for the previous 4 years. Yes.
But higher than 2025?
The projection for 2025, it's the same.
Okay.
It's the same, sorry. It's lower from the previous 4 years, but it's the same from last year. He just had less activity last year.
So what we're saying is we approved it last year for like 3,500 and only 2,100 people ended up using it. And that's, the projection for this year is the same as last year, but he is again starting after the fall and the other marketing window that he had, just like last year, because we approved it late last year as well. So the number it'll end on will be determined. Go ahead, Heather.
Yeah, last year, we didn't actually approve this until May,
Right.
so that was a significant, probably,
Lance, go ahead.
Yeah, and the way I read this is, these aren't projections, these are caps. I don't see the word projection written in here.
Very true.
So we're just maintaining the caps at 3,500. That is not a business projection, right? You don't.
That's a
Those two
very
were-
much better way to put it.
Yeah, those
Yes.
two words are not interchangeable.
Right.
That's a very good point. So do we have more questions? Essentially, what we're kind of hearing is this is the caps. Thank you very much for, we all sometimes do fall into using the wrong nomenclature, so thank you for that, Lance. Are projected at the same as it was last year. So do we have more questions, or does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
That the mayor and interim city clerk execute an amendment to the agreement with TC Ale Trail for its kayak, bike and brew, and paddle for pints events, extending a one-year agreement for 2026 summer operations in Hull Park and American Legion Park. Such agreement subject as to its substance by the city manager and its form by the city attorney.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioners Ness and Treadwell. Okay, any general discussion now that we're through the question phase?
This is a one-year contract before that master plan gets solidified, and I think it's pretty obvious and apparent to say that if someone isn't a good partner with the city, we probably won't do business with them again in the future. And we'll see how this year goes.
Good point.
And also, we've gone through, or our urban riverway has gone through a lot of changes over the last few years with multiple bridge reconstructions. Now we have Fish Pass underway, so that is also limiting the scope in which they can operate. And as the master plan for the parks is developed, it will look at the whole of the waterfront on the river, Boardman Lake, and Grand Traverse Bay, and how that actually can function.
With the Fish Pass project going on right now, where do they portage at? From what point to
They
what
don't.
point?
They go down to American Legion Park, they get out, and then they go back to Hull Park.
Okay.
So they've adapted, yeah. Lance, is that?
Nope,
okay?
nope, go
Sorry. You play with your pen like I do, but I want to make sure I'm not ignoring you. Go ahead, Heather.
Well, with the advance marketing that the company will be able to do, they may be able to reach that 3,500 cap, and that's almost 1,000 more than, or maybe a little over 1,000 more than last year. So we'll be able to see directly what kind of effect that has on the river too,
Yep. Okay, and
and not just the river, but the neighborhoods.
that's true.
And the small businesses.
And the small businesses, very true. Any public comment on this item? Please approach the podium and make public comment as normal.
We ask that you state your name and address, indicate if you're a city resident, non-city resident, and/or city business owner. We have a 3-minute time allotment per speaker. When your time has elapsed, the timer will beep. And finally, we request that all language be respectful to all parties. Thank you.
Paul Wilkins, 610 North Madison Street, also a member on the Parks and Rec Commission, and thank you, Michelle. The discussion at the Parks and Rec did indicate that the proposed fee for this year was a reasonable fee, and as our city manager pointed out, previous fees were kind of picked arbitrarily. I'm very happy to think that the city was abandoning the old benchmarking pay scale and is actually looking at a different way to look at salaries and things of that nature. Parks and Rec is also looking at a very intentional way to better have business enterprises use public parkland and be fiscally responsible toward the citizens. So we're looking at that. We plan to have that decision in the near future, but we're working on it. So this would be a one-year extension, and we felt that fee was a fair amount.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Any other public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission.
Troy.
Oh, sorry, Troy. You're buried back there.
Hi, I'm Troy Daly. I'm the owner of Kayak Bike and Brew, Man Paddle for Pines. We've been in operation for over 10 years. We actually had our 11th year last year, which was our slowest year. We didn't get our tickets on sale until after May. So it was a very low year. Last year, it was we had our very first unprofitable year, and we want to get tickets on sale earlier to be able to have a profitable business, and we want safe and reputable. We have a good reputation. We don't have any injuries. We have all safety. I've had an awesome relationship with Ben over the years, and we just want to have a really fun and an awesome year, and I appreciate it. So
Thank you. Sorry about that. Any other public comment? I will scan our packed crowd before I close it out. Okay, this time I'm pretty sure I don't see any, so I will bring it back to the commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for that. And now we're moving on to item number 8, which is the fire egress sidewalk at Grandview Parkway for Marriott Tribute. You had questions about this, Jackie?
I did. It looked as though this project began life last July with a request from the Marriott Tribute developer to have a 6-foot sidewalk easement to comply with fire department safety requirements, and it has kind of grown since then, and it occurs to me that we are essentially trading a 25 by 150 foot parcel owned by the city, and I'm not sure exactly what we are getting and how what we've been promised is going to be enforced and followed through, and so I have concerns about execution and implementation here. I believe there were also some underground utility issues that were brought up during the documentation process, that above and beyond a 12-inch water main, there may be other utilities in that parcel, under that parcel, that could need to be accessed at some point. So I'm wondering if this is actually ready for action, or whether some more research and due diligence needs to be happening.
I'd like to respond,
Please
if I
do.
may. I just want to share that, and the city attorney can speak better to this, but there is consideration that the hotel owner would be providing to the city, and that's regarding a pedestrian walkway. As far as the utilities beneath the surface, I can share that I connected with the Director of Municipal Utilities, and I did share this out in my email to the commissioners late this afternoon, that the professional opinion of our municipal utilities director is that there's adequate flow for fire services and so forth. And if I'm missing part of your point, please let me know. But I will ask Lauren if you would to respond to the consideration piece.
Sure. So this is a project that's actually been on the CIP for a while, that the city was going to itself provide this pedestrian walkway passage on this parcel so that there would be continuous pedestrian access from the pedestrian bridge over the river through the warehouse district and then through to the bay. And so when the developer requested an easement on this parcel, what staff and myself suggested was, well, if the developer's willing to basically take that project on for the city and pay for it and construct it to the city's specifications, then that might be something that the city commission might want to consider, and it's up to the commission. But it is a project that has been planned for the city to complete for quite some time to make sure that there's that access all the way through the warehouse district. So that's sort of the trade-off that was discussed. That's just a parcel, it's not a right-of-way. It's a parcel that the city owns, and nothing can be built there because of the utilities there. And that's why it was selected originally to be that pedestrian access from the warehouse district through to the parkway and then across. So that was
And as
that
far as
was what was
enforceability,
discussed.
can you-
That would be included within the easement, like other instruments that we have, that the utilities would need to be, able to be accessed at all times, and that the amenities that would be provided and the improvements to that particular parcel would belong to the city, but that the easement would be for access for that. There has to be egress from that side of the building to comply with the fire code. So it would be necessary for them to have an easement there in order to comply with the fire code. So that's the trade-off.
Heather?
Yeah, I think that was part of the problem with this item on the consent calendar, was that there was, unless you read the planning commission from the packet from whenever it was,
November.
you would never have known that there was this walkway planned. So I think it should have been a new business, even though it would have taken a little bit longer. But we're not actually trading anything, right? It's still going to, the easement belongs to the city.
Right. The easement just allows, the easement is basically a property interest that the Marriott would have that is sufficient for them to guarantee that there is egress access for the people in that building out that west side of the building.
Well, trading was a word used twice now.
Yes.
So we're not trading anything, it's still going to belong to the city.
Correct.
And there is something in this agreement about, what happens if they're not maintaining it in a proper manner? What happens if the hotel changes hands?
Yes.
That's all in there.
That would be in the easement, and the easement runs with the land. So it doesn't matter who owns the Marriott, it would run with the land.
Okay, and all of the, we're going to use city-approved plantings. Is there anything else we want to ask for in there? Do we want public art in there? Do you want a mural or something else on that wall?
Up to you, really.
That's up to the commission.
I guess that would be a question for the commission. I'm not comfortable with, at the last minute, adding a wish list, but I'd also be curious, to your point, though, if, this is a public easement. If we did a public mural project or something with the easement spaces, do we still have that kind of control, or does that ultimately fall to the hotel?
For the, if it's on the hotel wall, that would be up to them. But
Right.
But
if
there's
there were other
already,
public art within
Public art,
The
yeah.
easement.
within that parcel, that could be.
And
Yes.
it's not exactly last minute. I mean, this is
No.
the first time we've actually seen this.
Yeah,
Right.
the
But that was
renderings
my
are
question.
in the packet.
And if it
at
had
the
come
end.
into new
Yes.
business, then we would have been able to sort of talk about this
Mm-hmm.
instead of.
Okay. Do we have other questions? Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah.
Question, Mitch?
Well, additional comments, but if you want
We're on questions. You can we can make a motion for comments. Go ahead, Jackie, for questions.
So will the ultimate agreement with Marriott Tribute developer come back to this body for approval, or is that something that happens at the staff level?
The motion that's in the packet would approve the easement right now. If you'd like to see it come back, you could have that done as well, but the motion that's recommended in the packet would be to just approve it right now.
Would the holdup be wanting a requirement that they allow for public art? Because we can do that right now if we wanted to, if that's the holdup. If that's what people want included on the motion, if not, we can still make the motion. What's that, Lance?
Yeah, you could add that to the motion.
Okay. And I think there's representatives available. Is that? Okay, well, great, there we go. I won't even make you come up for that comment. The comment from our person in the audience is, we have a mural on our rendering, so they are all in favor of allowing that. So do we want us to, when we make the motion, then can we say as amended to reflect that, or do you want us to specify it in the motion, if that motion is made, Lauren?
You can include in the motion
Okay.
with public art on the Marriott, the Western Marriott wall.
Okay, or Marriott, period.
And if I can just add for the enforcement piece, if this provides any comfort, and Lauren, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're going to be, whoever is in that building is going to be exceedingly motivated to comply, because if they don't, then they can't occupy the building anymore.
Right.
So I say that like just to demonstrate the level of lever there is there, yeah.
I just have one more question. I'm sorry. And this is going to be for Art, because it does have to do with that 70-year-old water main that's sitting underneath the easement. 70 years is it's an old water main, and I'm so glad that it's hooked up to everything else, that it's looped in, but what happens if it breaks?
Hi, Art Krieger, Director of Utilities with the city. If it did, for instance, break, it would be more of like a careful repair would be required. There's a large duct bank of electrical conduits and things in there, and so it wouldn't be like going in with a big excavator and just digging away and ruining other infrastructure. It would be like a Vector truck that has vacuum suction with water. You can pull, soil out without damaging. That's the safest way to do it, without damaging any other infrastructure. And just depending where it is, it would be, a project in itself based on where it actually broke. If it was, under that duct bank, we'd have to get light and power there and help support it if we're underneath. There's a lot of variables, but we would be able to fix it. I can say it might take more effort than what you want, but.
What is it made out of?
I believe it's cast iron. If it's from the 1950s, it would be cast iron.
So corrosion is definitely in.
Corrosion can occur. We typically don't see pipes wearing out. They may fracture from, say, a point load on a stone or a rock or a boulder or something in the trench. But, when it breaks, it usually cracks vertically pretty straight, and we put a clamp around that, a repair clamp, and they work pretty well.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions? Mitch?
Yes. Thank you, Jackie, for pulling this. As we saw when this was before the Planning Commission, there were a number of concerns. I am glad to see many of them getting addressed explicitly and essentially requiring the liability and maintenance for the easement to be on the developer. So it doesn't leave a burden. I would be curious if there's an appetite that we make the sidewalk be heated, because yes, we are specifying snow removal, but considering the plowing frequency that we see along Grandview Parkway, there does get to be a lot of snow and ice that even as we've seen today, diligent snow removal doesn't clear as quickly as melting.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that I see that walkway goes straight through the warehouse district. It goes straight across the UNI bridge for lack of a better name. I'm sure it has a better name, but I don't know what it is. But in the wintertime, who would ever want to walk out on Front Street? I mean, that's a tough place even in the summer because that sidewalk is so narrow. So I don't know.
I'd also have questions about
man.
the proper sources for the heating for one building versus trying to build an interconnected, clear area throughout the whole area. Go ahead. Jackie, sorry.
I thank you for raising that possibility, and if I can also share another safety question that came up, and that was, if this is primarily a pedestrian walkway, are we considering adequately what happens when, at the north end of this walkway, where people are face-to-face with Grandview Parkway, and safe transit to the open space from there? I understand there were some conversations during the Grandview Parkway rebuild with MDOT about the possibility of relocating the Hawk signal that's right now at Hall Street, which is, you know, a Hotel Indigo distance away from this walkway, and that it was determined that that was not necessarily optimal from a safety standpoint either. So I wonder, has the safety of the pedestrians using the walkway been adequately considered?
Our professional staff has reviewed it, and so I would say yes.
To
Yeah.
clarify, it comes out to a sidewalk, correct?
Correct.
That then can be accessed either to the west by the Hawk signal, or to the east, there is the light at Union Street. So it might not be a direct route across the street, to your point, Jackie, but that is, even if we wanted the hotel to do that, we can't require it because that is an MDOT warrant, not a city or a private property warrant.
Just something to be aware of.
Other questions at this time? Would anybody like to make a motion? Go ahead, Lance.
I move that the mayor and interim city clerk execute easement to the Marriott Tribute at 211 West Grandview Parkway to install a fire egress sidewalk as described in the application, and easement renderings attached.
Second.
Do we need to add with
public art on the wall.
public art?
With the
public art
with the
provision.
requirement that they provide public art on the wall.
Well, it doesn't have to be just on the wall. It could
With,
be
with
like-
public
How
art.
about public
There.
Yes.
Public art, period.
Okay, yes. The gist is there, Lance. We'll have it repeated later, but thank you for that. I'm sorry, who was the second?
I was.
Thank
Second.
you, Ken. Okay, further discussion, including not questions at this time.
So when we talked about now that they will provide the art, when we did all the murals around town, was the cost of the murals on the owners of the businesses, or was that paid for by the Arts Commission?
Yes.
So the Arts Commission could potentially pay for the artwork on the sides of these buildings along this easement egress?
As part of, I think what I would say to that is, that was the 8th Street, that was a plan for 8th Street for a mural festival there. There's been other public art done in conjunction with Art Commission projects that have been privately funded by the businesses. There's also art around town that has nothing to do with the Arts Commission, but has just been added to enhance. So if you've ever walked down the alley off of Cass behind the old fire station there, that mural was done privately, for example. So there's lots of examples of that. So they could potentially be looped into a bigger project, or it could be something they decide to do on their own.
Gotcha.
Heather, go ahead.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the Arts Commission has the power to say we're going to put art here without coming to the city
Gotcha.
commission
Absolutely.
first and
Correct,
asking.
correct.
But just, we said that they will provide. They will provide the opportunity for this, maybe the Arts Commission to provide it, or they will do it themselves. I just want to be clear about the understanding of, when we say you will provide, you do it one time and then it doesn't need to be done again for 50 years. I'm not trying to create expectations. I just want to maybe talk about the implications of you will provide.
I
Allow
think
the
that
opportunity.
what I would operate from is they're going to pay for it, and that the easement will contain a provision that they have to maintain it, that it's kept up.
Sounds great.
Yeah, So really quick, can I make a request, and then Heather, I do see you. Lauren, that when, you don't have to send us the whole contract if this does get passed, but could you just send us what you land on after talking with them? I don't want to get into having to have representatives negotiate with you up
Yep.
here, but I think the gist and the feeling there is everybody's cooperative towards it, but we can then just kind of know what the final wording would be.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Heather.
And can we invite the Marriott to come and talk to the Arts Commission if they're interested in hiring a local artist?
Absolutely. I see heads nodding vigorously, so,
Thank you.
okay. Do we have any other comment from the city commission? Seeing none, I will open up any public comment on this item. Seeing none, I'll bring it back. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Sorry, my computer's slowing down for a second here now. So the last one we have is item number 3, and that is the authorization and abatement of West State Street properties, and this was pulled by Heather.
Me.
Go ahead. I thought this
Yeah,
was-
I don't have any problem with the demo. I'm just wondering about, this is in quotes, "The expansion of parking lot P to the east was identified as the most feasible option and included in the capital improvement plan." So in the city's capital improvement plan, not the DDA?
City's capital improvement plan.
Okay, so, and the plan to actually lay down, did you say 55?
It was 50 to 60, depending on tree boxes in the final.
And
design.
when do you, because, we do have this other thing kind of going on with that piece of property. When was the plan to lay that asphalt
It was
down?
early summer, correct, Ms. Van Ness?
Good evening, Nicole Maness, Parking Mobility Director. So we are currently waiting for the engineering firm to provide the design layout. The design has already gone to the design team and had feedback from other city departments. And so with that, we do plan to have tree boxes for shade canopy. We are closing off the curb cut on State Street. And so once we have that plan, it will go out for bid, and then we'll come back before you to seek approval for the expenditure to pave the lot. So the timeline currently is that the bids will go out yet this month. Contractors would respond in February, and we should have something to you by the end of February for approval.
With hopeful completion
With
early
hopeful
summer?
completion of approval to move forward, and then the lot would, in theory, be done before the Cherry Festival.
Will it be metered?
So because we are doing an expense to pave the lot, and we have other needs in that area, we are looking at, instead of it just being a permit lot where it's permit Monday through Friday and then free, we are looking at doing a mixed use, so we can actually gain some revenue from this location, since we are putting forth the expense to maintain it. We're not sure how long it's going to stay a parking lot, so.
So when you say mixed use, you mean metered and permit?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it will
Usage.
primarily maintain permits during the weekday, because that is the need on that side right now.
Okay.
Well, I am a little concerned because we are talking later on today about this other idea for that parking lot, and yet we're going to be spending a lot of money with the paving and the metering. I don't know. I mean, right now it functions as a parking lot, even if it's not paved.
That would be depending if everybody wants that item later. Others might want to see that go out for bid, which could be a longer process, or other things too.
And if I just give some history to this location. So there are 2 buildings on this parcel currently. It was initially identified with the DDA's moving downtown TIF forward plan, moving downtown forward.
TIF plan.
To have a Weston parking structure. When the DDA moved that off of their plan, at that point, the commission had asked if we evaluate the properties for other uses. So this time last year, former city manager Liz Vogel did provide a report where we hired Cornerstone Architects to evaluate each property that we owned on those parcels. They are in shape that would cost multiple millions in order to repair them. And so at this point, in our interest in serving the parking patrons, it would be better to demo them and pave. And so that's why we came up with that as the next result versus rehabilitating those properties and leasing them out.
But we could demo without paving.
At this point, we do not have a paving project because we've not received those quotes yet. So yes, we could demo, and then depending on what the next step is, either pave or not pave.
There's a grant out there as well that would help us clean up that, or not?
No.
Did it
No,
go
that
away?
expired at the end of
There's
the
no
year.
That's
grant
right,
for
we
this
did lose out on that money after 2 votes. I forgot about that.
So, can I,
Go ahead.
No,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think it
Okay.
had to go
Yeah.
to.
No,
thank
Laura,
you,
go ahead. Yep.
thank you, Heather, for pulling this. I guess my question is, do we want to consider pausing this item while we consider it in the context of the other decision that we have later, and that's related to the West Front?
We don't even have a motion right now, so
Okay.
that's up to the body to decide.
Okay.
So that would be, are there more questions on this?
That was my question.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, others.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, thank you.
I move that the mayor and, make sure I'm reading the right one. Yes, okay. That the mayor and interim city clerk execute an agreement with Elmer's Crane and Dozer, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $170,000, which includes a 10% contingency for the abatement, waste disposal, and demolition of 120 and 122 West State Street properties. Such contract subject as to its substance by the city manager and its form by the city attorney, with funds therefore available in the Auto Parking Enterprise Fund.
Second.
Thank you, Lance, thank you, Ken. Further discussion on this, not questions. I'm going to go Heather and then Laura.
So that's just for the demo. That's all we're paying for. I believe that the grant that was up required that something get built there that was an enterprise, and that's why we lost the grant, because the parking deck didn't get built. So we're still open for discussion here about whether or not we want to go forward with the paving project. Is that correct?
The recommendation that was just read, and as I read it, this says the demolition and abatement. It doesn't say anything about creating parking. That's going to be a dirt lot when those are torn down.
Yep.
And I,
That's all this is
It's
for.
already
That's
partially
all,
a
that's
parking
all
lot.
we just made a motion and seconded.
Lance?
And we'll,
and Heather, I just pulled up the CIP just to look at it, and that's a separate project at estimated around $145,000 for the paving. So we would
Yes,
have
it
to,
is.
that would have to come to us
Okay.
anyway.
Yep.
Great.
Laura, you had?
Yeah, it seems to me we should be approaching this more holistically and talking about it in the context of the project that we're discussing later, and that's the West Front Street parking deck, because this is a cost to the city, and perhaps if we discuss it later and from a more comprehensive view, that could be something that is included in the RFQ.
Go ahead, Mitch, go ahead. with what you were
Yes,
saying.
I'm frustrated that we missed a grant opportunity that would have paid for this project, the demolition and site work in full, considering that although we haven't done the full engineering report, I have literally never seen a former dry cleaner site that does not have a trichloroethylene TCE plume underneath. So we should fully expect that there is subsoil contamination here that would be a problem for any future reuse. Yes, paving it literally just puts it under asphalt, but if that is going to get dug up, we need to know that. I am interminably frustrated that it had come before this body twice last year, and neither time were we able to get the 5 votes to approve that contract. But we are left with buildings that are structurally deficient, that serve no functional purpose, that need to be demolished and frankly should have been demolished previously. This is an option to get that work done.
I was also just reminded by Robert's rule, that there is Robert's rules allows us to refer this to new business. We could add it under item 5, which would be under the discussion that you all want to have. Is that agreeable to the commission?
Yes.
yes.
To take this out and.
We
What
would
do
be
we do?
moving it instead of it where it is right now on the agenda, we would move it to new business, and we would create an item number 5 under item number 4, which item number 4 is the request from you, Commissioner Shaw, and Commissioner Treadwell to discuss the 120 to 126 properties.
That makes sense to me.
Okay. I will hold that motion then.
Do
So the
me
mo-
and Lance need to rescind our motions?
No,
or
the
anything?
the
Okay.
motion still stands. It would just
Okay.
move the order topic down.
That's fine.
Let me
So
write
it
that
will
for
still
myself.
get discussed and ultimately voted on.
Making a note for myself. Okay, so then with that, we will move on to old business. And we will now have the request for proposals for Carnegie and Con Foster buildings. And Ben, do you want to take that, or should I have Deb just come up?
I'll just say real briefly, this is Deborah Allen's area of expertise. She's been running point on this. I did just want to highlight what I put in my cover memo, which was to direct the commission's attention to the required information and required document sections of the RFP, just because we want to know from you if those are in alignment with the substance of the proposals the commission seeks. So I just wanted to bring that to the front, and I'll turn it over to Deputy City Manager Deb Allen. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, and our community members. Deb Allen, Deputy City Manager. As City Manager Marintet had just mentioned, this item was discussed on December 8th in great detail. We've come back to you with the RFPs. There are just a few things that I want to share with you regarding the RFPs. On page 5 of the RFP, there's one item, I'm sorry, it actually was item page 2. I just want to point out that it states in there that the Con Foster, let me just make sure here, the Carnegie Building is an 11,500 square foot facility. However, we are retaining some section of that building, so the actual amount that would be available for use is about 8,000 square feet. So just kind of letting you know that. So that plays into then the cost for that in terms of the square footage. So the estimated space is approximately 8,000, considering the current use regarding the housing of the Con Foster collection. And also a correction in terms of that the additional constructed area was actually constructed in 1965 rather than in 2000. So just a point of clarification on those two things. And as the city manager had pointed out on page 5, it lists fully the proposal, the criterion that has been established, as well as the commitment that the facility be used for culture, environment, and the arts. And those items that are identified on page 5 would be part of the rubric to assess any proposals that are established.
Before we open up for a little bit more conversation, I just want a question for Lauren for process. In the motion, do we have to say as amended to reflect these changes that Deb just went over with us, or is that implied because it was part of the presentation?
You can do it either way. I think that we're all taking notes and,
Okay,
you know,
great.
there's some corrections.
Just want to make sure that we don't bind anybody up later. So thank you, Deb, for letting me do that before I forgot.
So one of the key things that we are looking for direction from the commission regarding this, we've identified the RFPs, we've put the criteria in there. We're actually looking at establishing kind of that fair market cost or cost to operate. So if you remember at the December 8th meeting, we talked about what would be fair market value, and we looked at several different commercial entities that stated that commercial value is anywhere from $20 to $24 a square foot to $25 to $35 a square foot. So I'm just letting you know for comparison, we utilized a number of approximately $25 per square foot. If we were looking at the Carnegie Building, again, at that 8,000 square feet available for lease, it would be approximately $200,000 at fair market value to rent out that space. However, the commission stated that you want to look at a partnership from the standpoint that provides community use and community benefit. And so the estimated cost to operate at current value would be approximately $75,000. And if we look at increasing that by the 10% that we talked about for maintenance issues based on a fair market rate, that would be about $20,000. So the cost to operate that building would be approximately $95,000 for the lease. So that is something that we would consider to incorporate into the RFP. I'll be working with the city attorney on how to correct or how to establish that language. But again, the approximate value, annual value would be about $95,000 based on the conversations that we've previously had. Similarly, the Con Foster or Bijou building is about the $25 a square foot based on about 2,800 square feet. So the fair market value would be approximately $70,000. And then if we do versus the approximately $22,000 to operate. We previously said 17,000, but we want to be upfront that that was without any operating happening in that building. So utilities and everything else have been significantly lower. So if we estimate that at approximately 22,000 with the 10% fair market value, it would be approximately $29,000 annually for a lease for that property.
Just want to say, if I may, technically, the Con Foster building would not be a lease. It's a management agreement going in line with that partnership. So just as we've had in other parkland where we have partnered with other entities like Hickory Film Festival when they were at the Bijou, it is a management agreement and not a lease. I just want to
Thank you,
clarify that.
thank you.
Yep.
That would be the case for both scenarios, correct? Yes.
Well, the other one is not parkland,
Okay.
but it's, and it's approached differently.
Okay.
Do we have questions now? Go ahead, Heather.
So that answers the email we got from Rick Buckholder about public park.
Yes.
Okay, and
Yes.
votes,
And
okay.
that's been upheld by courts.
Okay. Allowed uses. It says no retail or restaurant, but I know that the Bijou was selling popcorn, and I'm pretty sure that Crooked Tree has events where they sell art and they have fairs.
They have
so
gift shop.
And we have a vendor, a food vendor at Clinch Park.
Yeah, so I think you want to look at that and make sure that.
Would you be looking for
If
them to
that's your
take that
preference.
out or
Yeah, I
add it in?
would.
Add it
Yes, I
in?
would.
I would agree.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I would agree as well.
Okay, key information. In key information for the Con Foster, there's no mention of the former commitment by the Traverse City Film Festival to level the floor. Don't we want that in there?
I'll
I mean,
defer
don't we
to the
want
city
to try
attorney
and
on
get
that
them
one.
to do that?
It depends on what the use ends up being. I would say there is a personal guarantee in place for that to happen. It just depends. If a RFP comes back and
they
they
wanna
say,
use it at
we
their-
want a theater or some other similar use that would be consistent with, it may not be necessary to do
But I
that.
would think you'd want it
So
as
that
a
folks know.
key information,
Yes,
yeah.
Sure.
very much.
I
Good
have
idea.
I have a question on that. If we were to do that and proceed with someone who wanted that floor, like that is, would that then negate the film festival's responsibility to level the floor later?
No, they owe us that for
Okay,
the
so
building.
no matter what happens, they owe us that?
That's Heather's point, I think, is that is owed if that's what a usage that we decide ultimately wants to be in
It's
there.
still owed.
It is owed to us to restore it to what it was before they moved in. Now, there's a possibility, as Lauren just pointed out, that it might be a movie theater or a venue or something where they wouldn't care, but shouldn't affect who bids, I think is what we were going for here. So continue, Heather, thank you.
I just have one more, I have a comment. In the community benefits section, which is what opens up both of these RFPs, it really prioritizes tourism in the econ and cultural value section. Tourists are the whole focus in that econ and cultural value section. Whereas in the proposals under criterion 2, I think that's much closer to what I would like to see, which is about community value and meaningful and measurable benefits to Traverse City residents in the broader community, rather than this focus on tourism. So I'd really like to see that community benefits, those two sections changed to focus more on community benefits rather than tourism.
Do we have consensus on that to send to, head nod or slight hand wave if we have consensus on that, so it's very clear for everybody? Okay. Yep, lots of head nods, so just to reflect that.
That's it.
Yep, go ahead, Jackie.
Just to expand on that a bit, I was a bit uncomfortable with the combining of the economic and cultural value as a community benefit, and I would really urge that in the verbiage they be separated so that we can more easily address, and prioritize those separately also. Perhaps that separation could even be reflected in the criterion or in the decision rubric. But I felt that given the clear direction that we provided, that culture, arts, and the environment were our desired benefits to the community, and economic value cropped up as a part of the decision, or ultimate benefits. And I thought, maybe we need to break that out separately.
What is the consensus on that? Because I don't disagree with that in spirit. I also I think some of the intention is that, though, that we want to make sure that something economically viable is presented. And then that's, but it doesn't have to be economically viable in as profit-making or ka-ching, but we have this money that we're supposed to meet, and we want to make sure we're picking a business that can make the rent. So if that's what you mean, I 100% agree, yeah.
Yes, and I think that the other concerns about financial sustainability are
Yes.
well documented in the rest of the.
That's, yes, I would agree with that. Is that head nods or no objections? Seeing
up.
5 heads nods, so that's quorum here, or that's majority here. Mitch, you had your hand up?
Yes, as you just mentioned, the key purpose in both these buildings says emphasis on culture, environment, and the arts, which is how these buildings have been used in recent years, but taking a broader scope of how they have served in the community, I would like to add history and education to that. As a library, as in the vision of Andrew Carnegie, is striving to keep our populace more informed, more educated, knowledgeable about the world.
What's thoughts on that? I guess sometimes when I hear cultural, I think history included in that,
I-
but
I
I
was
guess,
assuming-
but maybe itemizing that isn't a
Yeah.
terrible thing to put? Are we
I-
all
I
nodding
agree.
heads?
I assumed that history was included under culture, and so if that's confusing to the public, it might be confusing to those that are responding to the RFP. So I think it would be important to break it out and include it.
It's head nods
Very
up and
fair,
down.
yes.
Fair. Okay, great. So that's consensus there as well. Any other observations or requests? So far, we're batting 1,000, I think, so. Looking good. Did you have anything else from us, Deb, now based on that, or other things that might have crept up?
Nope, I think that was the majority of it, as long as everyone understood kind of the concept for the conceptual lease
Mm-hmm.
structure.
Okay. Now, Jackie, do you have a question?
I
ahead.
do. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It occurs to me that, we've previously been talking about the Parks Master Plan being under development, and is there any reason or need to reference alignment with the Parks Master Plan? Is that getting in deep weeds?
I think.
It does, I think.
I think
That's-
it's fair to state that the
No,
Parks Commission has reviewed this and it was in favor of this.
Oh,
And
but
I think the documents do reference that.
Section 2
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the section
Thank
that
you.
they
Thank you.
specifically coordinated.
Great.
This is great feedback, by the way. This conversation, thank you for facilitating it so well. This is exactly what we needed, so thank you.
Lance, you were raising your hand?
Yeah, if we make a motion, we don't need to include all of this?
Nope, that's all included because of the discussion, so.
Okay.
That's why I asked that at the top, so very good question.
Then I'll make a motion.
Please.
I move that the city commission approves the request for proposals for the lease use of the city's assets for the Carnegie and Con Foster buildings.
And I'd like to just take lease out of that, just use
Sorry,
of.
that's right.
Use of, yeah.
Let's proposals. I move that the city commission approves the request for proposals for the use of the city's assets for the Carnegie and Con Foster buildings.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, and this was a little bit more open discussion, but any further general discussion on this?
When we originally talked about this a few weeks back, there was also the discussion about the amount of maintenance and repairs that needed to happen to some of these buildings. And I just wonder, we're just talking about how we're going to fill the space right now and at least cover our cost, hopefully. But where are we at with potential contributions, chip-ins, those costs, I guess? I'm sorry to make you get back up there.
That's okay, sorry. Actually, in the numbers, and I know I threw out a lot of numbers, but in the lease amount, in the agreement amount that we discussed, there actually is a 10% increase for maintenance based on fair market value. So those numbers were added in. Specific to the Con Foster building, that was approximately $7,000. So, we're not going to rebuild the building, but we could help with some maintenance issues. And in regards to the Carnegie building, that was $20,000 because it's a much larger building.
Okay, so initially, we're going to cover the cost of all these repairs right now.
We're
And
going to
then we're gonna
look at grants, as was
Yeah.
talked about previously, some of those historic preservation grants that are coming up. And we'll look at other opportunities as well for those grants to support things specific to the historic components, such as the windows that we talked about, the HVAC system that needs to be upgraded and enhanced. So those are all things that we'll be looking at, and we'll probably be coming to you more in the lines of on a CIP, if it's larger items above that $50,000 amount, so that we are capturing those in terms of ongoing concerns or needs.
Jackie?
A quick process question. You referenced a staff evaluation panel for the proposals that arrive. Will the city commission be revisiting this at any point in the future, or can you tell us a little more about the process?
Sure. I think as we have done in the past, typically when we, traditionally it has been staff that has gone through the rubric and kind of looked at those things and maybe come back with maybe several or the top 3 recommendations or maybe a final recommendation. But certainly I could see that being the case where we would bring that information back to the commission to make a final determination based on the information that's been provided. We could even provide the rubric so that you can kind of see who the top 3 were or something of that nature.
And it'll have to come back to you to authorize the agreements regardless.
Yeah.
This isn't a final approval on your part.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments right now? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and open this up for public comment. Does anybody have public comment on this item? I think there's a lot of people observing, but maybe not commenting tonight. So, going once. Okay, I'm going to bring it back to the commission. Any final thoughts? Because this has been a lot of notes, so I just want to make sure nobody had something pop into their head in the last couple minutes. Okay, seeing none, I'll call the vote then. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all for handling that. Okay, moving on to our new business now. As referred to earlier on the agenda, we now have the request to make Sarah Lutz our permanent city manager, so there's no backing out now. So I'll hand this, city clerk, I'm giving you a promotion ahead of time. Sorry.
Run away.
Several months, I was gonna say, that would make you run away. Several months of the same topic, now we get a new one, because that has been dealt with.
Yes.
So I will hand this off to Benjamin.
Thank you very much. This is an item that I'm very excited about. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Sarah Lutz, who's been the deputy city clerk for Traverse City for 4 years. She was selected by her peers across the entire state of Michigan as Michigan's Deputy City Clerk of the Year and had a standing ovation from her Secretary of State at her award ceremony in Detroit. She's a humble leader, so she's probably hating that I'm saying these things, but it's really important to recognize that Sarah's integrity is beyond reproach, and that is critical for someone to serve in that role effectively. Sarah has all the right experience for this role. And she was interviewed by the National Conference of State Legislatures last year, I almost said earlier this year, late last year, about what she loves about being a city clerk. And she said it's all about helping others and putting a smile on people's faces. And that's exactly what we want in the spirit of our employees. And that's what Sarah embodies. And so I'm excited to recommend that you approve the appointment of Sarah as Traverse City's 11th city clerk since 1895. Wow. And so I highly recommend that you approve the resolution confirming my appointment of Sarah as the city clerk for Traverse City.
Such shining words. I don't think any of us, I don't dare to add. Does anybody else have any comments or would like to make the motion? Go ahead, Heather.
Go ahead, Heather.
Go ahead.
You
I would love to make this.
Please
motion.
do, Heather. I know you've been excited, so yes.
I move that the resolution approving city manager Benjamin Marentet's appointment of Sarah Lutz as city clerk be adopted, and that the city commission certifies the signature of Sarah Lutz as co-authorizer along with city treasurer finance director on all city of Traverse City and Traverse City Light and Power financial disbursement accounts.
Second.
Oh, okay. All right. So, any further discussion on this item? We're all pretty.
How many city clerks have we had in the history of Traverse City?
This will be the 11th. Sarah will be the 11th, since 1895.
Wow.
Amazing.
It's pretty amazing.
131 years. Storied Hall Institution. Nice job. Any public comment on this item? Okay, I'll bring it back to the commission. All in favor? Aye. Motion passed. Oh, sorry, opposed. I saw everybody speak. Motion passes.
Congratulations, Sarah.
Yay, Sarah. There will be a swearing in immediately after adjournment. If anybody wants to see Sarah sworn in as the 11th in 131 years, you can stay after for just a couple of minutes, and we'll do that.
Oh, I forgot to bring cookies.
It's okay. We don't need,
Where's
after
the
the
book?
holidays, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure none of us
cookie
need more
hour.
cookies or
Where's
sugar.
the book at?
It's back
It's
there.
right back here. All right, and so with that, we'll move on to our next item of business, which is to appoint our deputy city clerk. So, you want to take that, Sarah?
Ooh, that's me. So when I took the interim position, I looked to my staff and I didn't want to beg. Thankfully, I didn't have to, for somebody to step up. And Miss Rebecca Adler did step up, and she's been wonderful. She's been my rock. She balances me, which is, I think, a great thing to have in an office environment. And so I couldn't be happier to recommend her as my deputy, knowing that she has my back. So
It's amazing.
that's what I do.
Any questions, or does anybody want to make the motion? Go ahead, Jackie.
I recommend that the resolution approving interim city clerk Sarah Lutz's appointment of Rebecca Adler as deputy city clerk effective January 5th, 2026 be adopted.
Second.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Anderson and Mayor Pro Tem Ness. Any further comments on this? Other than I also thank Rebecca, because she's usually the one texting me for when I can do ad hocs, because I can get a text a lot faster than I can get an email, and I think she's really good at adapting to that, figuring out what all of us need to help keep our business moving. So thank you for that. Any public comment on this item? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right.
Congratulations, Rebecca.
Yay. And also, no more interims in front of anybody's name for right now. So sorry, everybody else, you're all stuck in your positions for a while because we just can't remember it at this point. So, moving on, we will now do a consideration of adopting resolution in support of House Bill 5225. And Benjamin, I'll let you kick that off.
Yes, so this is a bill that is pending in front of the Michigan House of Representatives, and it would increase from $40,000 to $60,000 the income limit that makes someone eligible for property tax, summer property tax deferment. And it is helpful to provide this to folks because a lot of times they're using their income tax refund or other funds to help pay for their property taxes. Our city treasurer has a memo in the packet and looked at the financial impact of this to the city. It is essentially nil. And it does not have any concerning impacts on our cash flow. And she also checked with the Grand Traverse County Treasurer, who also supports the adoption of this. And so I recommend that you adopt this resolution encouraging the Michigan House of Representatives to approve this House bill.
Do we have any questions on this? Go ahead, Heather.
No, I don't have any questions. And
Great.
something like this has never come before the commission before.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to the treasurer.
I move that the resolution in support of House Bill 5225 be adopted.
Support. All right, I'm going to go Heather and Mitch. Okay, any further discussion on this? Go ahead, Ken.
I was just going to say that when the purpose of this was identified for seniors, veterans, and disabled homeowners that are already have considerably low income, and this increases the threshold to allow more people to be eligible for this, it just made perfect sense, and it's compassionate, and I'm glad we have staff looking for opportunities like this to make the lives of our residents better. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. Mitch?
Just a procedural question. This is naming a specific House bill. Is the language such that it carries over to the commensurate Senate bill once that gets drafted, if this actually passes the House?
No, but we could modify the language in the resolution to refer to the Senate bill by subject, like the Senate bill that carries forward House Bill 522,
I
the
would-
corresponding. Thank
I would
you.
be a little hesitant on that because sometimes there can be major revisions between the House and the
True.
Senate bill. So, but maybe what I feel up here is maybe a consensus if there's a window for it to bring that back if there feels there needs be. I will say with the current legislature, if something passes through the House that has this kind of support, usually the Senate and the governor are aligned with it for giving aid to groups that might be struggling a little. So go ahead, Heidi.
This comes through on the Michigan Municipal Treasurer's listserv, so I'll keep an eye out, and if it does come back, and bring it back if needed.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Yep.
All right, any further questions on this or comments? Any public comment on this item? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And thank you for bringing that forward to us, as Ken pointed out. I think Heather said we don't get these very often to support resolutions, so that's very good. All right, moving on to a request from Commissioner Shaw and Treadwell to have a discussion about the Shore North development that was presented as part of the reserved public comment at a couple meetings ago. Benjamin, did you want to kick it off, or are we handing it to them?
I can just say a couple of quick things. I just wanted, it's really primarily one key point, and it's been reported in the media. It's in my memo. I emailed Mr. Sachs this a few weeks ago just to be transparent with him about what I'd be recommending to the City Commission. And ultimately, I respect that this is up to you, but my job is to advise you. And it is my advice that if the City Commission is interested in developing these properties through a partnership with a private entity, that you issue a request for qualifications, a public-based process where members of the public would have an opportunity to provide input and help shape what you're looking for. Ultimately, you would decide what elements are in that RFQ if you go that route. And it also, and I say this with respect to Mr. Sachs, he has a great reputation, but it is a developer, but it also provides other entities with an opportunity to pitch their ideas. And I think that that's good form, and that's my recommendation if you want to look at developing these properties. And that's all I'll say for now.
Could I had a quick question that I wanted to ask at the top here. You're requesting an RFQ. What's the thought on that over an RFP as opposed to a request for proposal on the property?
Well, a request for qualifications is something, I mean, it's somewhat semantics, but it's usually used with development projects so that it's qualifications based. And so if that's the desire of the commission, that's the approach I would recommend.
Okay. Other questions from the commission right now, or moving the discussion? Go ahead, Jackie.
I very much support the idea of a request for qualifications and an opportunity for the public to input. I wondered if there is interest among my colleagues to incorporate any aspect of public transit in this proposal. It strikes me that in its current form, the proposal from Mr. Sachs involves affordable, attainable housing, it involves parking, both of which could be impacted by availability of, or enhanced availability of public transit in that area. And I wondered, do we want to bake that into our exploration specifically, or leave that free floating?
I guess I would say that would be part of the qualifications process, right? Garnering that?
Yes, I think that if the direction of the commission is to move forward with RFQ, we would be bringing back an item later, at whatever time you want, to have that discussion, to decide what elements you want in there. I mean, you can certainly have that tonight if you want, but we'd be coming to you with a very focused discussion and some suggestions going in.
And I would rather see the body move that discussion too, because I'd be more curious of what's out there and what's available. Right now, the Bay Line, which is the most frequent beta stop in all of the county, goes right by that area. So what would we be really defining that as better public transit? if we're really looking for things like that. So I think that's a deeper discussion with more facts that can be brought to us. So it's a good suggestion. I think that could come out of the process. What I do want to take a pause for, and I see Mitch's hand up, is to give Mitch and Heather a chance to talk. They did bring this forward. It kind of, with Ben's recommendation, it kind of became a mishmash, but I want to give you both a chance to address bringing this request forward and what you'd like to see too.
Yeah, just to address Commissioner Anderson's point, I would like to see that vision, but I see that the groundwork for that has already been in place because we do have a fairly robust downtown aside from this specific corner. There is the Bay Line has stops on westbound and eastbound either end of that block of Pine Street. This stop, which would be directly kitty corner to this property on Pine Street, is in front of 150 Pine Riverview Terrace, which is 115 units of low-income housing that has very high ridership as a percentage of its population.
Well, Mitch, we said we'd address this, so do you want to address a little bit about you bringing it forward, though, and what you're interested in?
Yes, I feel that we had a proposal that wasn't formally brought before us as an agenda item, but a member of the public decided that he had a good idea. I thought it was also a good idea, but I do hear our now city manager speaking that an RFQ would both allow the process more transparency and be, I'd say, both financially and politically prudent to do, because a good idea could well be the best idea out there by a mile, but we don't necessarily know that until we hear what else is out there, if anything else is out there.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Heather, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question first. In the executive summary, it talks about selling the property. I didn't realize we were selling the property. I thought we were leasing the property.
It could be,
Could be anything. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said selling and some sort of interest transfer.
Okay, well,
Right.
something, yeah, I don't know that anybody's really, I don't know. I would rather see something besides selling in whatever the RFQ is. So I want to thank Mr. Sachs for bringing this forward.
He is in the audience,
There,
yeah.
And whether or not the specific structure moves forward, I think it's important that the city examine creative ways to solve two of the biggest challenges that we are always hearing about, which is parking and workforce housing. The land under discussion is publicly owned, which means it is our obligation to steward that asset in a way that delivers long-term public benefit. And the proposal that we've heard from Mr. Sachs that shifts construction and financing and long-term maintenance risk away from taxpayers while preserving public parking and adding workforce housing downtown, I think deserves careful, transparent evaluation. I also want to push back gently on the idea that workforce housing does not belong downtown. I think that a healthy downtown is one that works year-round. And housing that serves teachers and service workers and young professionals help sustain local businesses, including the two nearby grocery stores and Tom's West Bay. It's not far. You can bike and walk to all of those services. Downtown housing for in-town residents should reduce commuting pressures. And the alternative to downtown workforce housing is a whole block of short-term rentals and dark winter windows. Downtown workforce housing builds community, year-round community. And I think this kind of proposal, it's creative, it's unusual, but it warrants thoughtful analysis. And the public process of developing a request for qualifications brings transparency, as has been mentioned, to the issue, as well as allowing the opportunity for us to hear from residents and stakeholders. I hope that we can be flexible about moving this as quickly as possible through where it needs to go, back to us, get it out, get it back, so that we're not, we've got parking issue on that property, and got projects going forward. So I hope we can be speedy about this.
Thank you for that. I guess because we don't have a motion attached to this, and I don't think we're well, you would just need instruction from us, right? You don't need a
Right,
formal
I don't
motion.
need a formal motion.
So, well, we will have a more in-depth conversation, but, Heather rightfully said that things that were attractive about the initial offer were parking solutions. There's an interest in having affordable housing or some other component. So I think as we're thinking about this quickly and without getting into the weeds, is there anything else off the top of the head that staff can kind of take with them as part of this conversation? If you don't, it's fine. It will be back for more conversation. It will be back for this process, but since we have it open tonight and it was kind of spurred on by a reserved public comment, I didn't know if, everybody had been, I'm sure, noodling on that over their whole holiday break, if anything else had occurred to them that they'd like to see as part of this. Go ahead, Laura.
I think I'd also like to thank Mr. Sachs for his proposal. The West End parking issue has been on the city's radar for decades, since 1997. And I think that this type of a proposal gives us an opportunity to be proactive, and that aligns with our strategic plan. Our number one pillar, our top pillar, not prioritized, but is to proactively manage urban design. This fits right with that. And so I think that the RFQ process will give us a chance for more public input. Process matters, but so does progress. So I don't want us to get hung up and allow this to just kind of drag on and drag on. I think it's important that we initiate the RFQ and then get going so that we can see some results and so that we can resolve this issue and move expeditiously.
Thank you, Laura. That just is one of the issues why I asked for RFQ over RFP, which was a good explanation. But yes, I agree about we want to have some input and we want to have some parameters, but we also don't need to drag this process out. I think that you mentioned as well that we've had a lot of conversations. It's a parking deck down there is currently in the TIF plan, the TIF 97 plan.
Right.
It's not happening, and it's not in the proposed current one that would be out there to move forward as it stands right now. But that is an issue down there where we hear from business owners, and we've heard from business owners recently about that being a missing piece. We also do know, as Heather has pointed out, and we all know that affordable housing and other issues are out there too that we need to address. And so I think while I appreciate it being Mr. Sachs, who's been very active in our downtown, in our town for a very long time and is appreciated, did a reserved public comment, this will allow the process to go through staff and through a formal process that I think is more of what the public expects out of us too, for issues of transparency and kind of being fair, just for lack of better, more simple way to put it. So I thank everybody for their input on this. I think staff, do you feel like you've got what you need to move us forward?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
great. I am going to does anybody in the public want to make public comment on this item as it stands right now? We will be bringing it back for conversation in the nearest future, but it doesn't have a motion, but everything else on here does. So if anybody wanted to raise your hand in indication, I'll open it up. If not, we'll move on. Okay, we have one. Go ahead. Yep, we'll go ahead and have public comment really quick on this, and then we'll move on to our next item.
Just for me, Traverse City resident, the RFQ process I think is a great opportunity for the public to chime in. I think that more housing should be included in Traverse City. One thing that I've noticed is with more housing that would probably open the housing choice voucher for MISTA. In Grand Traverse County. Currently, the waiting list is closed. And so, right now, the program that I'm underneath, a HUD program for the COC, that's gone. In March, that's out of there. That funding is being cut. So, you talk about the conversation about having opportunities for business owners and to recuperate, to having help come in and such, is more housing means more opportunity, but low-income housing is always a better bet also, because income-based 3% AMI, that gives people who have low income a better opportunity to go forward with jobs and such. So not to price out everybody in Grand Traverse County and Traverse City. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments at this time? Okay, I want to thank everybody on the commission for a good beginning discussion, and I know we look forward to seeing what staff will be bringing back to us in the near future. And thank you, Mr. Sachs, for getting the conversation going. We promise we won't be dragging feet, so we appreciate you getting that going, but we'll have some good community input and commission input as we move that forward. So now we'll go back up to, for those of us following at home on our computers, we're back up under the demolition and abatement of the West State Street properties, which we had been previously discussing and moved to new item number 5. So I guess in the context of where we are right now, one question I would have then is
Did we think that the conversation that we just finished was going to be a little bit more robust, and that's why we moved this item?
No, we want to just have a clearer picture. Because actually what I was just about to say is, do we feel like, at this point, $170,000 for a parking lot, well, we would be clearing this, that we could wait, I guess how this is framed it now is we could wait, see what proposals, what the request for proposal looks like, what proposals we get, and leave those buildings there now for however long it takes for a new project to start developing there. Could be another year, or do we want to take care of at least the abatement of the buildings at this time is really what we're left to discuss. So whether there's a parking lot there or not in the future is not really the question at this point. The question is, do we want to tear down the buildings?
I felt like we moved it because we thought that after this is torn down, we were going to put a parking deck there, and maybe this would be incorporated into, we would say, North Shore Development. We're not going to spend the money to tear this down because we're going to sell this to you for $1. So that's part of the deal, is you're going to take on the cost of the destruction of this building. Is that why we moved it?
If we had all chosen to act on the proposal that Mr. Sachs presented to us in his reserved public comment, then yes, we could have done that as part of the discussion. But we've decided to go now out for RFQs, so we'll be open up to multiple proposals, in theory, over a time period, just like we would with another request process. So you could decide, we're going to wait and see what happens with that, and not pay to demolish it and see if we can include that cost, or we can make this motion now, demolish it, knowing that this could be a lengthy multiple-month process, if not longer, depending on what kind of bids we get and what's out there. Heather, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm in favor of demolishing the 2 buildings. It's kind of like white boxing, property, getting ready for the next project. The dry cleaner is gone, and that was actually, there were brownfield funds that were used to take that out. So I'm in favor of demoing those 2 buildings and then waiting to see what happens over the next, leaving it clean, and you can use it as a parking lot this summer. Even though it's dirt, it's already half dirt anyway. And just wait and see what happens.
And I'm not opposed to demolishing the buildings now. It occurred to me that discussion of whether or not the city outlays $170,000 to demolish these buildings, did it belong with the broader conversation around the development of a new parking deck? Because that is a cost to the city. And if we are going to be seeking proposals to develop those properties, did we want to consider including that in those proposals? That's what my question was.
Which still is a question that is out there, but I think, again, I would go back more to the mindset of, had we said, you know what, no, sorry, John, we keep mentioning you by name, but you did, John's proposal is great, we all agree with it, let's go with it, let's get them in negotiations for a contract, then, we could have waited.
$170,000.
Right, we would have saved $170,000, but the question before us right now is, as we've started a new process that will likely take several months, do we leave these up longer, or do we demolish them now and pay $170,000 out of the parking
And I
fund?
wasn't sure what the risks are in leaving those buildings up and what the potential liability is. And if there are risks and liabilities, and there's a strong need to take them down now rather than wait. But if we're looking at moving expeditiously with these RFQs and getting something back within a reasonable time, are we spending money that we don't need to spend?
Mitch, you have a question?
Yeah, Commissioner Shaw used the term white boxing, which this is helping get the site ready for a wide range of potential options. The parking deck idea being one of them. But also, this isn't getting it to a perfect greenfield site. The original grant that we had last year was for $960,000, which, yes, that would have covered demolition, but that would have provided a lot more for the subsoil remediation for additional site work and other stuff. We wouldn't necessarily have used all of that, but there are costs associated with everything below grade that will still need to be addressed. And I see that as something that can be done. If we see when we get responses back from the RFQ that somebody is willing to do all that work, or somebody else is saying, hey, we could do something if the city does additional site remediation.
Well, yeah, Mitch,
or
I was
other
going to say, we're venturing into now talking about remediation, which isn't part of this.
Yeah.
So I don't want it to get blurred. This isn't about remediation. This is just about tearing down the buildings.
The first step.
I have a quick question that we haven't talked about yet. Is this the property that the DDA is currently paying property taxes on every year because we haven't torn down the buildings?
Nicole Vaness. So just to be clear, these properties were all purchased with funds from the parking system, and the parking fund is paying the taxes.
Okay.
So
formerly it was under the
The
DDA.
expense of the $170,000 to demo the buildings will come from the parking funds, which is collected from fees, coin, citations. So these are clearly parking funds used for these properties.
Can I ask what the property tax looks like roughly, it doesn't have to be dollar to dollar, in comparison to what this would cost us, say, if it goes into the summer tax bill season, for example?
I think this particular set of properties, because the whole State Street itself from Pine to the old Kenny building was $80,000 a year.
Okay.
And I think these two buildings alone are $40,000 a year. Okay. And we've been paying those since 2021.
Okay.
So at this point, even demoing, we are set up to potentially submit the tax exempt form once they are leveled. But right now, those are coming out of the parking fund.
Okay, thank you.
That's a helpful analysis, thank you.
We save money by doing this.
Well, I mean, it won't be a dollar to dollar, but we are paying right now to have them sit there, for us to sit there and wait for somebody to maybe pay to demolish them.
That helps
And just for
clarify the
the
question.
Yeah, and just for the sake of new commissioners, the assessment from Cornerstone, these buildings, again, it would take millions to rehabilitate them. The water is shut off at the alley because we had a pipe burst. So the conditions in there are not such. We do have no trespassing signs, danger signs, because people do occasionally get in those buildings, and we got to, re-secure them. So it is a risk.
Thank you.
Jackie?
And I presume we carry liability insurance of some kind?
We
against
do, and
those
we
risks?
document the signage. Nicole and I talked about this a year or so ago, to, if there was an issue, it helps defend our insurance coverage as well.
Thank you.
Do we have other questions at this time, or a motion?
It was moved.
Oh,
We
what's
already
it?
had a motion.
Yeah,
and
Did I
there's
not
a
write down?
motion already.
Did I accidentally cross it out already?
Yeah.
Who made it? Sorry.
Lance motioned it, I seconded it.
Yes, sorry. I accidentally crossed it out like we'd already voted on it, and so I lost track
But
of my
again,
notes.
we're just
Just-
voting again to demo the building.
Just demo the building,
Exactly.
nothing else. I will say too, as a lifelong resident here, even though we have liability insurance, we've had, and I know things have changed and the process is better, but we've had issues with buildings that were not well-maintained, that were owned by the city, where very bad things have happened. And so I am always cautious about leaving condemned buildings or usable buildings with the trust that people will magically just stay away from them and they won't ever cause a problem, even with insurance. So this has been an issue or a concern of mine since we started having these conversations about these properties. So just my 2 cents on that. Any final comments before I go to public comment from anybody? Seeing none, any public comment on this item for demolitioning these buildings? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, thank you all for that. Sorry, the vote just popped up on my screen. Moving down to appointments now. So we have some human rights. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, point. So what about the paving? What have we just?
There's
That's
nothing going
in
on
the
with that
CIP.
yet.
We're just not doing, okay.
That we're-
We'll
Okay,
see
we
the
have to come
RFP,
back anyway.
RFQ
Okay.
process or something, yeah. Yeah, we'll see what all transpires. So no, good clarification. Okay, so we're on to appointments, the Human Rights Commission appointments. This was myself and Lance and Mitch, correct? Okay. So we had resignation of Brian Rates and Kim Bratton. One moved out of the area completely, and the other just had some life changes. So we had some really great people to interview, and and I should definitely acknowledge Marilyn Jaquish stepped down after many, many years of service and just decided not to continue. She's been fundamentally important to that group, that organization for a long time, and has done a lot of great work on there. So we had some really good interviews and landed on Chelsea Morris, Leah Moskovitz, and Randy Taylor. And so I don't know if anybody else wanted to add from the ad hoc or if anybody wants to just make a motion, but go ahead.
Actually, I think it was unanimous
Yeah.
in the ad hoc. The 3 candidates who interviewed, they were passionate, and I think, will be They will be good contributors to our city.
Definitely. We have a motion or any other comments?
I'll move. I move that the resignation of Brian Rates and Kim Bratton from the Human Rights Commission be accepted, and that Chelsea Morris be appointed with a term expiring June 30th, 2027, previously held by Brian Rates. Leah Moskovitz be appointed with terms expiring June 30, 2028, previously held by Marilyn Jaquish. And Randy Taylor be appointed with terms expiring June 30, 2029, previously held by Kim Bratton, as recommended by the ad hoc committee consisting of Mayor Shamrow, Commissioner Treadwell, and Commissioner Bomer.
Support.
All right, thank you, Lance and Mitch on that. Any other comments on this? Seeing none, any public comment on this? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And then we have a Brown Bridge Advisory Committee appointment. Sorry, that one's a bit of a mouthful sometimes. So,
May
go
I
ahead.
mention
Yep.
just one quick thing, and it's with great respect that I want to share that Judy Nemitz served on the Brown Bridge Advisory Committee for a number of years. We're not having you accept her resignation because sadly she passed away. She had resigned before that happened, but I just wanted to acknowledge that respectfully, that we appreciate her service and want to acknowledge her, so thank you.
Yes, definitely. It looks like this was Commissioner Funk and Anderson and Mayor Pro Tem Ness, if anybody wants to
I'll make the
comment.
motion.
Yeah, go ahead and make the motion, please, yeah.
Yeah, I make a motion that the resignation of Barbara Winkler from the Brown Bridge Advisory Committee be accepted, and that Carol Cusell and be appointed to the term expiring October 8th, 2027, filling the seat previously held by Barbara Winkler, and Richard Lewis be appointed to the term expiring October 6th, 2028, filling the seat previously held by Judy Nimitz, as recommended by the ad hoc interview committee consisting of Commissioner Funk, Anderson, and Mayor Pro Tem Ness.
Support.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Anderson as well. Any further discussion on this item? Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we're on to reports. It's probably been a pretty quiet couple weeks, but does anybody have any reports? Go ahead, Laura.
I do. From the Hickory Hills Advisory Committee. As chair of the Hickory Hills Advisory Committee, I want to acknowledge the disappointment and frustration that our community has felt with the delayed opening of Hickory Hills this season. I know how much this affects our kids, our families, and our nonprofit partners, like the ski club, as well as our middle and high school ski teams who rely on Hickory for their programs. I'm meeting with the city manager and the deputy city manager on Wednesday to understand the plan for improvements and how the Hickory Hills Advisory Committee can support improvements for future seasons. Hickory Hills is celebrating its 75th anniversary in 2027. Wow. That's 7 decades of public and private investment, volunteerism, and shared community pride. The community loves this park, and I know that the commission and staff share that goal to get our kids outside enjoying that magic of Hickory Hills. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from any commissioners? Reports? Go ahead, Jackie.
Just encourage public input in the Planning Commission activities tomorrow night. We will be discussing goals to be set for 2026 for the Planning Commission, and I hope that we can have a very robust public input process to guide us in setting those goals.
Great.
So,
Good heads up. Go ahead, Heather.
I just have a comment on Jackie's report. I did look at the stated goals from last year, which I think were the year before. And please, the riparian buffer has been going on for how long
6 years.
now? Can we get that done?
Fair request. Okay, well, I think everybody else has been pretty quiet, so we're going to go ahead and, I shouldn't say everybody else, our meeting schedule has been pretty quiet. We've had good, robust discussion tonight. So I just want to say thank you, everybody. Hope you all are enjoying this relatively short meeting. And, oh yeah, sorry, I almost forgot about general public comment, sorry. I'm out of habit, as you can tell. So does anybody have any general public comment about anything under the sun? Please feel free to approach the podium. It does not have to be about any of the agenda items tonight. You can share anything you'd like. I'm just really excited to swear Sarah in, I'm sorry.
Good evening. Happy New Year. My name is Peter Lane. I am a resident here. I live on 1620 East Lane Street, no relation. Just so happened to work out that way. And it's a lot of fun on Christmas cards. Thank you for having me here this evening. I am here as a parent. I'm here as a volunteer leader with the Grand Traverse Ski Club. And I'm not here to point fingers, but I'm here to inspire you. The number one thing that you guys are going to do tonight is gather your energy and make a big difference for the skiers on the hill. I know we're all working hard. I know we all have a lot of things that are important in life. For our youth in this community, the dark nights of winter, that bright light on Hickory Hills is their everything. It's their everything. It's their relationships. It's their camaraderie. It's their physical fitness. And it's their mental health. I'm glad that you got Fast Tammy up and that you got Waterfall. In order to get to Waterfall, you got to hike. We got to have those ropes going. We got to have Pete. We got to have Buck. We got to have Swede. We got to have the snow guns pointing in the right spot. And this is so much more than snow guns and ski ropes. Right? This is a moment for our youth. And I want you to picture for a minute, take a view of your favorite elementary school in town. Think about it. How many people are there in the car line on that organized chaos? All right? And then think about all of the kids that are ages pre-K who can barely get their shoes on, the itty bitties. And then you got your second and third graders, and they're finding independence. And then your fifth graders who feel like they're ruling the school. Now take the teachers, 60 plus of them, and the administrators, put them all together, and now bring all of the parents and the siblings. We're talking about an impact of over 1,500 people. We have over 400 youth in our program at Grand Traverse Ski Club signed up and ready to go. And there's nowhere to go right now. And I've been there. I was there today. Michelle is doing all she can. Marla's doing a great job. I know the transition committee's been awesome. Ben, you've taken on a ton of stuff, and it's getting done, but we got to come through. We've got to come through for our youth. We got to show up and show out. We got to remove the barriers. This isn't about saying nice things in a meeting room. The kids don't care. Go home and tell them you're not going to go skiing tomorrow. It's not going to be a good experience. We got to find a way to come through. As the president of the Grand Traverse Ski Club, you have my support to get whatever manpower you need done, and we'll call in all the favors. But we got to get skiing open, and we got to do it soon.
Thank you,
very
Mr.
much.
Lane. And sorry, I almost deprived you of your chance. It was a very good speech. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Let him. Any other general public comment for tonight? Okay, seeing none, I will bring it back. Thank you all for being here this evening. Mitch, you have a final comment?
Yes. Boardman Lake is frozen over. The ice fishing is good, but everybody exercise caution going out on the ice, especially with the warm weather coming up this week.
Yes, very good point. Okay, with that, we adjourn. If anybody would like to stick around, we are swearing Sarah in as our 11th in 131 years city clerk.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Just sign in as a commissioner. I gotta fill it out. I didn't even fill it out. Do they make you re-sign? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. If anybody needs signatures, please come up to all of us. We can sign them. Oh, yeah.